Boker Tov, good morning. Pleasure to see everybody filing in. What a beautiful looking day outside. Hope it can be a lovely day for everybody, leading to a really restful Shabbat. We could use a time really just to be and to reflect. But this morning, we'll have a little time to do that together. Boker Tov, good morning, and welcome back to Sinai Stream's Boker Tov offering, our daily opportunity from Temple Sinai Congregation of Toronto to connect, to reflect, and to remember. And this morning, admit as beautiful as the day outside it is, I feel for some reason a little bit less connected. So let's turn to our tefillot, to our prayers, give each of us a chance to sort of refocus ourselves. And me a chance to do the same. Might be a little jumpy here and there this morning as I'm using a slightly different version of our prayers this morning on screen, but the words are the same almost entirely, and using our weekday prayer book. So please let's join together in our prayer Asher Yatzal for the miraculous way, the amazing way that we are created, somehow that we are able each day to get up and say, wow, look at all the things I can do. So let's join together in Hebrew and English here this morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yitzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah, u'baravu nekavim, chalulim, galui v'yadua livnei chisech vodecha, שאם ייפתח אחד מהם או ייסתם אחד מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה, אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you have fashioned our bodies with wisdom, creating within us a finely balanced network. To stand before you in prayer is itself a fragile miracle. Eternal God, we praise you as the healer of body and spirit. And the prayer Elohai Neshama talks after our prayer for the physical waking, for the soul itself. So before our Torah study prayer, let's join together in the translation today of Elohai Neshama as well. The soul that you have given me, O God, is a pure one. You have created and formed it, breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. So long as my soul is within me, I will give thanks to you, eternal my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. We praise you, eternal God, in whose hand is the power of all life and the spirit of all flesh. And let's join together in Hebrew today in our prayer for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, v'arevna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu, v'fi amcha beit Yisrael, v'niyeh anachnu v'tze'etzaenu v'tze'etzei amcha beit Yisrael, כולנו יודעי שמך ולומדי תורתך לשמה, ברוך אתה אדוני, המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. And having recited our prayer that commands us to deepen our study of Torah as well as to take on the role of teacher, let's continue by naming these essential mitzvot and roles that we have in our life every day. Elud dvarim she'en lahem shiur. These are the obligations whose value cannot be measured. They nourish us in this world and help us to create the world to come. Kibud av va'em, to honor fathers and mothers. Ugmilut chasadim, to perform acts of love and kindness. V'ashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'alvit, to attend the house of study morning and evening. V'achnasat orchim, to welcome the stranger. Uvikur cholim, to visit the sick. V'achnasat kala, to provide for brides and grooms. V'levayat hamet, to keep faith with the dead. V'yun tefillah, to pray with sincerity. V'ava'at shalom ben adam lechavero, to make peace when there is strife. The Talmud Torah keneged kulam, and the study of Torah is equal to them all. And so having prepared a little bit, we now continue by reciting Shema. these 6 words that challenge us to be aware of, to seek out, to create unity in our world. And at the same time, followed by 6 words that talk about the divine name and its presence in the world. That's our job, to each day to feel like our actions would be a meaningful representation of the divine presence in the world. Let that challenge in our minds. Let's continue by joining together in the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Vehavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha. Vayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha. Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. V'shivtecha b'veitecha u'valechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha. U'kshavtam leot al yadecha vayu letotafot b'einenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot betecha u'v'isharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei v'gdeihem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf b'tir techelet v'ya lachem letzitzit u'ritem oto וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטור אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. And this week, as an additional prayer from our morning service, we've been joining together in our prayer against evil. And so let's join together on the gray side of the screen with the Hebrew and English of this prayer that challenges us in a world with so much evil and in a world still with so much prejudice that we might each day lessen that and therefore make God's name heard in the world. L'rasha'im al titikva azedim elecha yeshuvu elu b'charvotam ve'elu b'chanetotehem v'nachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu nazkir och ata Adonai shovel resha min ha'aretz. Let the wicked have no hope. May the arrogant turn back to you. They trust in force and violence, but we seek the sound of God's name in the world. Blessed eternal God, you break the hold of evil on the earth. Well, here we are on another Friday morning. It's been quite an amazing week. So many different things going on, watching the evolution of our world, but continuing as it is to be dominated by the realities of the novel virus, of the disease COVID-19, of its impact on our world, on us individually, on every level of it in between. And it's been a challenging week to watch, watching here in Canada, watching abroad as well. As you may know, following the news very closely in the land of Israel, in the state of Israel, they had really gotten their numbers down under control in regard to the new virus, and the numbers were much, much lower than they have been even in the last days here in Canada. And so they began opening up daycares and schools, etc. And they're at a stage again now, having gotten things down into the low double digits or single digits of new cases, that they find over 200 cases in the last 24 hours. That when we open up too fast, that what happens is the numbers of cases and the threat that that represents to individual lives, to public health, continue to grow. That's happening in many different places in the world. And so I admit it makes it very difficult for me to understand the events of this past week here in Canada. I admit it started last weekend on Shabbat afternoon and on Sunday. when I was taking a walk in Earl Bales Park near my home, being careful to keep a distance from those around me, and looking around and seeing that my behavior was the exception, not the rule on that particular day. I don't know what it is about this weather or this time of year, or simply whether it is that we have some amount of fatigue at maintaining these behaviors that give us a sense of distance. You know, it made me think of the lessons we've been learning from Cheshbon Nefesh, from spiritual accounting, from these steps that we've been studying, about the amount of work that we need to do, and that I guess that it takes in order for us to constantly think of others. To say, wow, how can I make sure to create a lower risk environment for everybody who needs it? How can I have in mind not just my own moment or my own feelings or my own needs, but those of others? It's a reminder, not that it's impossible, but that it's a challenge that each of us has to take on. But really this morning, what I need to say is how disappointed I am and how challenged I feel when our leaders seem unable or unwilling to maintain that kind of a perspective for our own good. During this past week, a statement came out about where things were in the province of Ontario, and a new ruling about the functioning of houses of worship, as they're called in official statements. And what I see in where things are is a statement clearly made by our duly constituted and scientifically backed authorities that we hope to be to stage 2 of opening soon, but we're not there. And a statement that continued that, again, as I officiated at funerals this week, that I witnessed the importance and yet the pain of this reality that there shouldn't be more than 10 people gathering in one place. And then in regard to houses of worship, somehow, for reasons I personally cannot explain, an exception was made, and it was announced that despite not being ready for stage 2, that houses of worship would be allowed to open to 30% of their capacity. Now, Temple Sinai's main sanctuary has 369 fixed seats. You can do the math yourself. That means that in theory, that we could have 123 people, roughly, in that sanctuary. There is no danger of that happening. I was very proud of the statement our congregation made, saying we're going to take our time, that nothing could possibly be more important than the lives and the safety and health of our members. And besides, we're fully functioning as it is, here together in community. But life is not an ideal opportunity, but one instead that we have to be responsible for and make the most of. But regardless of the numbers in that space, people who are in a space then need to enter, they need to exit, they need to look after their physical needs in washrooms and other facilities at the same time. How is it possible that the families I stood with this week need to stand even without the grandchildren of the deceased at a funeral because the numbers aren't allowed, and that our leadership could make a statement that would allow dramatically larger numbers of people to gather and to be with one another, and with certainly no intention to do so, as if intention matters to a virus, could create a situation of such danger. Our tradition says v'chai b'hem, that when it comes to the observance of the tradition, that one needs to limit one's behavior in regard of pikuach nefesh, of the saving of lives and the protecting of lives, so that later on we might be here to continue to safeguard lives, to continue to observe our tradition, because we remain here in this world safely. I don't know how to explain this ruling this week. I know that, of course, we, and I would imagine most other houses of worship, most other Bate Knesset, most other synagogues, I would hope are going to be responsible and think about, despite the ruling, doing what it is they can to safeguard everyone's health. But it's a reminder a sad reminder from my perspective that at this time, we cannot count on our duly elected or appointed leaders to resist understandable pressures to move forward and to open up at a pace that is right and responsible. That each of us must take responsibility for our own behaviors, for their implications for ourselves and for others, and at the same time make our voices heard for people to know that we want what is right and what is safe, not what might be convenient or feel good at a particular moment. It was very difficult when I was last weekend in Earl Bales Park not to talk to people and say, oh my goodness, could you please step further from one another? And yet I knew where this could lead, so instead I came home and contacted the authorities to let them know that that people were behaving in ways that weren't respectful of the guidance to the public. They indicated to me that they'd already received a call, and yet there was no evidence that any kind of compliance officers were dispatched. It's challenging. Each of us really needs to take some time and to say that these principles that we learn, whether they're from Cheshbon Nefesh or they're merely our own understandings of the world, that we need to take responsibility for our own actions. And we need to urge our leaders to say, if you want to call yourselves our leaders, don't be pressured, be responsible. Don't accelerate, do what is right. I hope that things can turn in that direction, because this journey that we're on toward getting this virus under control is still a long journey, and it's going to require us to find a way to do what is right. Certainly, we need to protect all of us, and we need to protect frontline workers as well, and all those who are in need of healing and strength. And so as we do each day, we turn now to the words of our prayer of refuah, our prayer for those who are unwell or in need of strength, or especially for those who stand on guard for us. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah v'Rachel, lo yirapeh et kol makotenu, yiratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu, lachalimam ulrapotam, yishlach lanu mehera, refuah shlema, v'ateret shalom, v'nomar, Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer. May it be the divine will to provide healing and strength, reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and together we say, Amen. And having taken a moment now to reflect, in just a moment we will remember. And but first we pause, because remembering is not abstract. It is one person at a time, calling to mind the individuals and the families of those who've died in the last 30 days, as well as those who died at this season in years past. In the past 30 days, we extend our condolences to the families of Esther Siskind, Cheryl Okarofsky, Irving Coben, Julius Bell, Diane Novak, Bill Schmelzer, Ralph Rothstein, Ben Wertleb, Anita Fleischer, Lillian Gain, Reuben Devlin, Jerry Goldstein. And we remember all victims of violence and terror, including George Floyd. And on your site, on this, the 20th day of Sivan, on the 12th day of the month of June, we remember Ada Belchez, Nathan Bricks, Herb Goldberg, Andrew Grossman, Rosa Kahn, Benjamin Lampert, Aaron Leon, Rosalie Nyman, Benjamin Posner, Esther Pratzer, Isaac J. Sanker, Mitchell Scharf, Joseph Skulko. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be a blessing to us. Our griefs and our sympathies are mingled as we turn together to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope, joining together in the Kaddish Yatom. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach Yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yamechon, v'chayed dechol bet Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'rechu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata v'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and bring comfort and strength to all who remember. And together we say, amen. Enjoy this beautiful day, and please do it in a way that is safe and that just adds, as each of us can each day, to the opportunities, to the wellness, to the future of each and every one of us. Wishing all of us not only a great day, but a Shabbat Shalom. Joining together tonight for Tefillot at 6:30 and tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning also we expect to have a completely new composition to share from our senior cantor and composer Cantor Charles Osborne. Excited about that, and we'll also have our weekly study session at 11:30 afterwards. Boker Tov, make it a great day.